We have a crisis in this country of loneliness because all we do is compare and despair. When you're in the thick of it, you don't want all of that. You just tell me how I can feel better. Tell me something, a little something that can make me feel better, that gives me hope. I could be myself. I didn't have to dress a certain way. I didn't have to have my hair a certain way. Subject myself to other people's judgment or other people's expectations of how I should be.
Hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity, your podcast for all recovery-focused healing from addictions and traumas. We have a returning guest who is a true beacon of hope and resilience. She is a relationship reset expert, a certified betrayal recovery specialist, and an author with over 20 years of leadership experience. And her name is Vanessa Cardenas. How are you doing today?
Keegan, thank you so much for inviting me back. Our first conversation was just great. It was great, and we could have talked for hours.
Oh, yeah.
So I really appreciate you inviting me back. We have so much to cover today. Your audience is just going to be, mwah. They're going to absolutely love it. You are a beacon of hope for so many, and you bring such amazing guests onto your show, including me, but you've had some really great conversations recently. And yeah, you got it.
Well,
you absolutely have it.
I really appreciate that, but it's thanks to guests such as yourself that we've been able to make it this far in the first place because, man, I rewatched our first episode and I was like, man, I almost not necessarily forgot some of this stuff, but forgot about like where I was at in those moments. You know, I was rewatching it and I was like, man, like, yeah, a little bit of cringy because there's like, I had to go through all these different things that I've learned and I was like, it's not that I'm bad or anything, it's that I was inexperienced. And now we get to this point and I get to sit here and we get to talk about where you've gone since we've last spoke, because you left us off with micro betrayals and your hope framework. And I mean, you've gone and done a whole bunch of things since our last conversation. So why don't you tell us about where your like rabbit hole train's gone adventure wise?
Ooh, I love the question. I had the honor and privilege of being invited to Oxford University in England.
Ooh.
It was a thrill. It was 5 glorious days, and they invited me onto their podcast as well. And it was the first time I had done a podcast in person.
Ooh.
Very different experience because you and I have the screen in front of us and the mics and so forth, but we're still screen to screen. This, I could actually touch the host and feel the chair and the mic and all the camera angles. It was amazing. It was such an amazing experience. And I spoke about a wicked inner critic that I've had since kindergarten. And I shared that story and how I moved through it because, as your audience might not be aware of, I went through betrayal. My husband of over 2 decades, I'd known him for 3 decades, over 2 decades, sat me down on a park bench and said to me, I've met someone. And in that moment, my world shattered. It completely imploded and exploded at the exact same time. And I suffered terribly. And I couldn't understand because I'm a smart woman. I have a psychology degree. I'm in the C-suite. I could fix me. I could fix him. Be fine. We'd be all set. And what I came to realize, not days later, not weeks later, months later, that this catastrophic event in my life just cracked open all of my insecurities that I had had throughout my entire life that started in childhood. And it started with my inner critic just beating me down, telling me I'm not good enough, I can't do this, you'll never amount to anything. And it kept going and going and going. And no amount of relief could I get until I started working on myself. And I got to share that story on the Oxford stage. Now, for me, that was such a release. It was so cathartic to be able to do so, to be able to share my story. And I got to share it with the 8 people that were filming it at Oxford University. And I felt pretty good about myself. I have to admit there wasn't a dry eye afterwards, but including myself, because it was such a release of all of that. because we hold on to our stories.
Yeah.
We're the narrator of our story. We're the hero or the victim of our story.
Mhm.
And for me, I got to stand on that stage and I got to share my story. What I didn't realize was that within 2 months of it being released on their channel,
Mhm.
it would have over 300,000 views.
Wow.
Jaw dropping for me. And it was such a moment of pride
Mhm.
and also sadness
Mm.
because so many other people resonated with it. It hit people right here, right in the chest, right in the heart, because they felt the same way.
Mhm.
And I gave language to what they were experiencing. I gave them permission to actually go back in time and pinpoint when it actually started.
Mm.
Because if you can go back to that moment when it started, you can reframe it. You can absolutely reframe it. You could see it a little bit differently. Just turn the kaleidoscope 1 degree and it makes a world of difference. And my favorite thing as I went through my own recovery process related to this betrayal, related to the inner critic, related to the self-worth and the self-doubt, and all of that combined all together, and all of my insecurities, ooh, they came flooding back. But what was beautiful about the entire experience
Mhm.
was that I was able to give because the way we heal
Mhm.
changes the way we are, and it allows us to give in such a profound way. And I absolutely adore that. I do. It lights me up in such a way that no amount of daily drudgery and daily just hassles and chaos and everything else can't take away how I feel about myself now. And I get to see it in others and others that I get to privilege of working with to be able to guide them through and say, you know what? You are beautiful. You are unique as your fingerprint and you will get through this. And when you get through to the other side, you can actually look in the mirror with a sense of pride that you made it through. And whether that's 1 minute, 10 minutes, an hour, a day, 2 days, you string them together and you keep stringing them together. And suddenly you realize how far you've come. You said it right at the beginning. You watched our episode and a little cringeworthy for you
Mhm.
because you now see how far you've come and what a gracious host you are and how you bring in these amazing guests for your audience to benefit your audience because you know your audience best. You know that sometimes they're listening to this particular show at 3 in the morning and just needing that reassurance from you because you made it through and you're bringing guests on that have made it through their struggles because not for nothing, everyone's got struggles.
Mm.
And if we start to compare the struggles, compare and despair, we don't want to do that.
Mhm.
We each have our own challenges, but what unites us is the ability to be able to get through them
Mhm.
and stand tall and look around and see who else needs help.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the guiding principles. It's the last one is you need to help someone else.
Mm.
You do, and that's what it is, and once you do and you share the wisdom, not the knowledge, it's knowledge plus experience. You share your wisdom, you lead by example, you show that there is possibility. Oh, the sky's the limit. So, I had that opportunity to be on that stage and share my story and reach so many people, and heartwarming for me.
Mm.
And it has been a ride ever since.
Yeah.
Glorious.
Man, thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm really glad to hear that you were able to have such a cathartic experience. It sucks that it was cathartic because it means that there was something that caused some pain and grief and suffering along the way. But at the same time, that kind of release is something special that a lot of us don't realize is kind of there waiting for it until it kind of happens, you know? And help people either get to that conclusion or helps them after that conclusion, right? Because whenever we're sitting there in the thralls of whatever betrayal may have happened, it's kind of sitting there going like, your world is essentially gone, your identity is gone. And so you have to essentially either relearn or do a whole bunch of different things because it's difficult. And if so many people were able
Hmm.
to resonate with that story, it just kind of goes to show like how many hurt people go out and hurt other people. So, like, we're all trying to help each other out in some way, shape, and form. Hopefully, I know some people are definitely not the best at it because they just choose not to. But in the regards of people like yourself, you're sitting there and you're shining a light. You're saying, look, I made it through. This is how I made it through. So I'm going to walk with you as you tried to go along that journey as well. So, what are some of the things that you've helped develop and create to help people through that journey?
Everything circled back to something that I had heard when I was going through my own recovery from betrayal. It was hope.
Mm.
And boy, when you're in the thick of it, you have no hope. No hope, no faith. You're at rock bottom. You're wondering, how could I possibly hurt as much as I do? And how could I hurt someone else? And just we get into the thick of the rage that we have.
Yeah.
And someone brilliant said, hope. You need hope.
Mm.
And I was like, hope? I don't need hope. What do you know? Kind of thing. And she said to me, no, you don't understand. Hope stands for hold on.
Mm.
Pain ends.
Huh.
And that stuck with me for a really long time. To this day, it's still. And I developed my framework behind it. Hold on, pain ends. But what it really comes down to is that the H is for hold. Hold steady.
Mm.
Do whatever you possibly can to ground yourself, to hang on and know that you will get through this. You will. It doesn't feel like it at the moment. But I need a little bit, instead of your inner critic screaming at you, I need that little angel on the other shoulder going, hold on, hold on,
Mhm.
hold on. You are worthy. You are important. You are beautiful. You are unique. You will get through this. And just that on repeat, just hold steady.
Mhm.
The second is to organize the truth.
Ooh.
Because when we go through something really catastrophic, we see it in a jumbled mess.
Mhm.
And it's really hard for us to know the truth.
Mhm.
It just is. We get a little bit of amnesia. We don't quite remember the stories quite the way they are,
Mhm.
the way we like the narrative of it, whether we are the hero or the victim of it,
Mhm.
but organize the truth. Like really, really have the truth set. And sometimes that involves writing it down,
Mm.
keeping a journal, having it in front of you, because we do develop some amnesia.
Yeah.
We don't quite remember it right, but if we have written it down, the specifics of a certain situation, we can refer back to it.
Mhm.
We can absolutely refer back to it. Then for P in the hope is protect your boundary.
Mm.
Protect your boundary. Know, and a boundary can be for yourself. Know that if you do a certain action, it leads to another action, a destructive action.
Mhm.
Well, then don't do that precursor to that. Set that boundary. No, I am not going to walk by that particular establishment. That establishment triggers me.
Mhm.
So I am not going to walk down that road. I'm going to walk down this other road,
Mhm.
and set that as your boundary, that you know this is what exactly you are going to do.
Mhm.
And that again ties back to know the truth and hold on.
Mm.
And then the third, which is E, is execute the next step.
Mm.
Just one step. Okay? You don't need to look miles down the road. You don't.
Mhm.
You need to look down for just a moment and take one step forward.
Mm.
Whatever that step is for you. It's your step, and it's the step in a direction that you want to go in. Could it be a misstep? Of course it can. But at least you took a step.
Yeah.
You didn't stand still.
Mhm.
And for me, that was the biggest problem, was I was standing still for so long, and suddenly the ground kind of gave out underneath me, and it was no longer the ground. I wasn't grounded. I was in quicksand.
Mm.
And the more I struggled, the deeper I got.
Yeah.
So that is, you just execute one step, the very next step of what you're going to do, and you keep it simple. This isn't complicated. You're not supposed to make it complicated with, 40 steps that you need to do to get from point A to point B. No, no, no. Don't complicate it. Please don't complicate it. Take a breath, pause, and take a step. And know what that step is. So that's my hope framework that I work with clients on. And we dig deeper into it. But again, it's hold on, pain ends.
Okay.
And I have found it so helpful in general. So I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I love that. Hold on, pain ends. I have heard something similar, but it's more along the lines of this too shall pass. But that's kind of the thing, is that whenever we're in the middle of it, it really does not feel like it's going to pass. It really does not feel like that pain is going to end. It's just kind of sitting there like, hey, I'm here in the present moment, so I'm going to be here forever. It's kind of like an addiction. You see yourself in the moment doing it, and you don't see yourself in the future not doing it, So it's kind of like we can kind of get addicted to pain, I think, in some way, shape, or form. And it's something that holds a lot of us back, and a lot of us really don't take that next step. And I think that there's a lot to be said there too, because people like myself like to make things complicated. But at the same time, I know that a lot of the things that get me to where I really need to go, it's just doing it. It's just fucking doing it, It's just do that step. Just go. Sometimes, though, I need someone to kind of kick me in the butt a little bit to get me to take that next step. So how do you help people do that whenever they're kind of by themselves? Because if they're talking to you in the moment, that's awesome, right? Because your client can sit there and they can be like, hey, I got a question right now. But what do they do whenever they go home? Whenever they got like a roadblock that they can't really figure it out.
That involves tapping down your inner critic.
Ooh.
Because usually it's your inner critic that's telling you you can't. And we need to boost you up, not your inner critic. And we need to tap down the inner critic and give the inner critic a reprieve. I need a vacation from all your nonsense. You're on repeat of all these negative things over and over and over again. And you're paralyzing me from actually making a move. And I encourage most of my clients, make a move, make that first step. And it's okay if you misstep. But the thing is, you made a step, and make that commitment to yourself, because once you start trusting yourself, the sky's the limit. It truly is, because you trust yourself to be able to make a decision and move in the direction of that decision. And if that decision's not right, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. We learn. That's how we learn from every single action that we take. Whether it's a good step or a misstep, it's fine. But again, we're not standing still. We're not paralyzed by what's in front of us or what's screaming at us from inside, telling us we're not worthy. We can't do it. Can't. Can't is such a big word. And one of the words that I encourage my clients to say is when they feel that bubbling up, oh, I can't do that. I want them to add a word to the end of that sentence.
Okay.
I can't do that yet. By putting those 3 letters together, Y-E-T, not yet, it still opens up the possibility that you can do it, that you're ready, that you can do it. Maybe it's a little frightening today. Maybe it's a little frightening right at this moment. Let's re-explore it in an hour. Can't do it yet. But I could do it in an hour.
Yeah.
I could do it tomorrow. I can make a commitment to myself to do it tomorrow. And again, all we need to do is take that step. We don't need to run the marathon. Just because you buy a great pair of sneakers does not mean the very next day you can run a marathon. You have to train yourself step by step. It starts with walking, a light jog, and then actually a run, and then a run for a mile, and then 2 miles. That's what training is. Well, we're training mental fitness. We're getting ourselves prepared for taking those actions. And once we do a first action, the second action's much easier. And then the third action's much easier because we've learned to trust ourselves in what we are capable of doing. And again, you just add those 3 letters to the end of any negative, any sentence that will push you, move you through. It's glorious. It is. And when I get my clients to start tacking that on, they feel that sense of, yeah, I can't do it yet, but yeah, I'm going to be able to do that. And when they actually do it, it's a sense of accomplishment, and it's a mission, and it's a purpose, and we can move through life that way. It's glorious, because when we build our lives by our own design, with purpose, on purpose, there's so much we could do. There's so much we could do. And most importantly, we can help others. We can extend a hand because we know what it's like. We know what that feels like. And sometimes when you're in the thick of it and you feel that avalanche of emotion, you don't think anybody feels the same way that you feel. You don't. Nobody feels this amount of pain. And when you see an understanding ear and an understanding eye, and somebody looks at you and knows that you are in pain, and they extend their hand out just by seeing you, acknowledging you, and say, "You okay? How can I help you? What do you need?" And sometimes all they need is to be able to get the words up and out of their throat. I'm having a really bad day. I can't pay my bills. I'm really struggling. Whatever it is, but allowing someone else that opportunity to get that up and out. Okay, you can't pay your bills yet. Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can figure out. What are some of the steps? Because we get so paralyzed in our pain that it enables us not to be able to move, and we get stuck. And being stuck is the worst. It just is. We feel hopeless. And again, when we have that little critic on our shoulders, yeah, you're worthless. Yeah, you don't even bother. Yeah, it just beats us down, and we don't need that. We truly don't need that.
Yeah, we really do not need that. And having that little small word yet really does open up the giant doorway of possibilities. But I mean, it's all about perspective, right? Because again, whenever you don't say that, I imagine that for the clients that first start saying it, it's like a little, maybe a tiny little spark in the dark, and it's not very big. And then as they get closer to whatever it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's kind of the thing too, though, is that how do you really tell people that eventually it will be better whenever they have nothing but bad experience upon bad experience in the past?
Hold on, pain ends. I say it all the time.
Uh-huh.
I truly do, because I believe in it wholeheartedly. I've been in this work since 2017.
Mhm.
And the first couple of times I encouraged my clients to do so, there was a lot of resistance. Now it's very different, because I've been named the best relationship coach in Westchester County. I've got my 2 books. I've got, tons of articles written, even my Oxford talk. There's substance behind it.
Mhm.
I know what I'm doing. If you trust me
Mhm.
enough, I will help you learn to trust yourself. And that's part of the relationship reset.
Mhm.
And that's why I call myself a relationship reset. It's not necessarily the relationship you have with a partner, it's the relationship you have with yourself.
Ooh.
Because when you come into your own, when you can look in the mirror and truly see yourself and see the world of potential that you have in the world of possibilities, and if you would just move through the challenges that you have, if you could hold on, because the pain will end. There's beauty there. There truly is. I'm a living example of it, as well as many of my clients who have moved through. And in my particular case, I stayed married.
Mhm.
I am absolutely a unicorn. Most go through divorce. I wanted to stay. My husband wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And we worked really hard to move through that, because we both recognized, and me more so right at the beginning, was that I'm going to have a relationship. Who I have the relationship with was up for grabs. Could I have that relationship with my husband?
Uh-huh.
Sure. Was it going to be the exact same as it was before? No, not at all. This was a brand new relationship.
Mhm.
But I was going to have a brand new relationship anyway.
Yeah.
I just chose to have it with my husband.
Hmm.
And we moved through it. Make no mistake, it wasn't easy. Not at
Mm.
all. I sometimes it's harder to stay
Mhm.
than to leave.
Yeah.
But leaving has its own set of challenges as well, especially if
Mhm.
there are children involved.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if both parties are willing, have a willingness to make it work,
Mhm.
do it, they can start the process to do so and move through it as best as possible. You do need some guidance. It's hard to do it alone.
Mhm.
And I again, I thought I could fix us. No problem. No, 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 no. Not only did we need a therapist, each of us, and a couples therapist, we also needed a coach. I needed a support group. There is something to be said about support groups.
Mhm.
Now, with a caveat to that, I am a moderator of 2 very large Facebook groups.
Mm.
Support groups that are that large, they're really hard to contain because you get a lot of judgment. And when you're hurting, you don't need that judgment. You absolutely do not.
Nope.
So I prefer small, local support groups,
Hmm.
and you can find them. A lot of them are underground, no pun intended, usually in the basement of a church, but they are available. There are other people that are similar to you, not you because you're unique. They're similar to the challenges of what they're going through or similar to the challenges of what you're going through. Search it out. Ask your, if you're involved in your church, ask your church, ask neighbors, ask friends. Go online into the larger group and say, hey, I live in any town, USA. Anybody know of a support group? You'd be surprised.
Mhm.
You'd be surprised that there are a lot of local groups. I host a local group. I love it. I love being able to share in person
Mhm.
with 12 other people. It's great because they get to develop a relationship. They're held accountable because they need to show up every week. You don't show up and suddenly 11 people are calling you. Like, what's going on? What's happening? What's going on in your world that you are not here? You made a commitment
Mhm.
to all of us and you're not here. So it holds you accountable. It also provides that necessary lean in to the challenges. It's okay. And it's okay to cry.
Mhm.
Tears are cleansing. They are. And it's okay to share your story and to rewrite your story and to continue your story by sharing your dreams and your hopes and your wishes because we never know who we are talking to. We don't.
Yeah.
This was a very valuable lesson I taught one of my daughter's friends in school, in high school. I talked to everybody.
Uh-huh.
And I said, so, what do you want to do? And he says, oh, I want to work for the Jets. And first he said, Jets.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I was like, you're not a football player. And he goes, no, I want to be in the back end. And I'm like, really? I said, so tell me. And I used to have him practice his pitch to me.
Huh.
And get it down. Tell me what you want to do.
Mhm.
And he went away to college and I hadn't seen or heard of him for a couple of years. And I get a phone call
Mhm.
and says, hey, do you remember me? And I said, of course, because I need to tell you something. This past summer, I was working as a waiter and I had my university t-shirt on because, of course, my shirt from the restaurant got dirty and I took it off. And the only shirt I had was the one that said my university on it. And I went to help table and the gentleman looked at me and said, I went there and we struck up a conversation. And he says, what are you studying? I told him what I was studying. He says, so what do you want to do? And he said to me instantaneously, I went into the pitch and his mouth dropped open and he pointed to his colleague and he says, he works for the Jets. He says, I wanted to let you know because of your insistence that I learned that. And I go over and over and over again. And I hold on to that dream of what exactly I want to do.
Mhm.
I am starting an internship with the Jets. That warms my heart.
Mhm.
When we have those dreams and when we share those dreams. And that's one thing I encourage in my support group. I know it's painful right now. I know that you're in the thick of it. And I know that it just feels so overwhelming, but give it a chance. Hold on. Let's share your dreams. Where do you see yourself next month, next year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? If you could have anything, what would it be? Because when we say it out loud, it happens. It does. So grab a hold of that dream. Absolutely grab a hold of that dream.
That is such an awesome story because it really does go to show what someone can do whenever they believe in themselves, even just a little tiny bit. And it kind of just grows into who knows where it'll go. But that's the thing is that if we don't believe, if we don't start somewhere, it's never going to happen in the first place. And I really do love how you're actually pretty much advocating for people sharing their dreams, their aspirations, and all that with other people because it really does kind of go back all the way to the hope aspect too. Because you can't have those dreams if you're going to sit there and hold on to your pain and not do anything with it. And you can't really sit there and see yourself in the future without having somewhere to go unless you really do just want to say I exist and that's it. But I know for myself, whenever I was in the middle of all the pain and everything, there was no future and there was no dream. And then whenever I got through it, it was like, oh, well, I'm kind of here, so now I have to figure something out. So it's great that you help people figure that kind of thing out like in the middle of it so that they can rebuild their relationships with themselves and or with their loved ones, because that is one of those things is that whenever we're rebuilding with someone that we maybe were betrayed by or maybe we did the betraying, there's now suddenly all these expectations that we have to deal with, right? And I think that that would be the hard part about rebuilding something, especially your own identity, because you know yourself better than anyone else, so you know what to expect from yourself, and then your partner is also the same way. They also know you pretty damn well, so they should have these expectations, but we're trying to not really work off expectations, right? Because that's kind of like a computer program. We're not computer programs.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we're going to jump into AI, if that's okay
Yeah.
with you and your audience, because this has been an ongoing thing for me from a professional level as well as a personal level. When Chat GPT was introduced, I was very underground and people were using it to write emails and things of that nature. Well, things have changed and people are spending a lot of time on it. And we see all the news stories. It has been rather destructive to certain people that are hurting, that are feeling left out. We do have a crisis in this country of loneliness. Social media was designed to bring us together. And no, it doesn't. It actually separates us because all we do is compare and despair. We see other people's glorious lives with all the filters and everything else and catfishing, and we have terminology for it now. But overall, it makes us very, very lonely. It does. And we become very isolated. And when we're in pain, we can look at it as a great outlet to be able to get that validation that we need. But let's not make any mistake. All of these platforms, they are designed by design to keep you on it. Not for a couple of minutes, for hours on end. Hours on end. So Chat GPT, and that's the one I speak of mostly, there are others, of course, is designed to ask you questions. It gives you the answer to whatever question you have asked, and it says, would you like to know more? Could I suggest that you do this? And move on to that. And it's designed to keep you on. So make no mistake of it. It is absolutely designed to keep you on it. And I have been very resistant to it in my spaces because I do have clients come to me and say, I asked Chat, blah, 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 and it told me this. And they'll give me a printout of what it has said. And in theory, it takes somebody's theory, Freud's theory, everybody else's theory, and spits it back out and validates whatever the prompt is that you have put into it. And initially, it'll make you feel good. It's designed to make you feel good. Yeah. Unless you tell it, specifically come after me, specifically tell me the negative parts of this. It'll always be positive because it's designed that way. So when somebody is going through some sort of crisis, some sort of just angst, and they turn to ChatGPT or any of the AIs, they have an initial release and relief of whatever they're going through. But then they realize it's not really real. It's similar to the claps that you get when you're done with something and you feel this adulation of everybody's clapping for me. Oh, I did a good job. But then you get off stage and you're like, wait a second, now you play it back and you relive it and you're like, no, they're not clapping because I did a good job. They're clapping because I got off the stage.
Ouch.
And that's a realization that you have. It's the same thing with chat. You put in your story and all your information and blah, blah, blah. Not that I would encourage you to do that because there still are privacy issues, but you put in enough information and it spits out a response to you that makes you feel good. And you're like, yeah, okay, and it might take a while, but whether that's a couple of hours or a couple of days, you look back on what it said to you and you suddenly realize that's full of shit. Yeah, no, I felt good initially, but no, absolutely not. And it can start to be destructive that way because we become almost addicted to the validation that it gives, but then it completely flips on itself in how we feel about it. So I've been struggling with it with my clients, with people in the support groups that I moderate and whatnot, when they say, well, I asked chat and chat said this. And it's like, okay. And I've been really, it's a real hard thing for me because I don't want people falling into it in a destructive way. So in speaking to several of my colleagues and also my mentors and some of my coaches, I have decided to actually build one. So I have built an AI agent, Ask Vanessa, and I have put in all of my resources, all my 2 books that I've written, over 100 articles that I've written, my 400 transcripts from all my YouTube videos, my workshops, things of that nature. So that is its knowledge base.
Wow.
So it knows me. It knows my thoughts because I come from New York. So I have a New York grit to me. With that being said, and I also don't speak with a lot of the scientific jargon, the amygdala and the hypothalamus and this is what's happening and so forth and so on. When you're in the thick of it, you don't want all of that. You just tell me how I can feel better. Tell me something, a little something that can make me feel better, that gives me hope so that I can hold on and the pain will end. Please give me that. And so I designed it and I put in safeguards that it will provide answers that are based on my work. And it doesn't fluff it, as I refer to it. It doesn't fluff it. It doesn't, boost you up to, the stratosphere. It will make you feel better. It absolutely will, because it'll give you something from my experience and the experience of my clients. It's not some generic textbook answer. It's coming directly from me. It's as if having me, but having me at 3 a.m. when you're in the thick of it and I'm actually asleep. So it's designed to be that way. It's also got safeguards in it that you cannot use it for an extended period of time. You're not going to be on it for 8 hours. It's not going to happen because, listen, not for nothing, you need human contact. You do. This is a entry point for you to get a little bit of regulation in your system so that you cannot feel so alone that an entity understands you.
Yeah.
But it's me. It's my thoughts. It's my way of being. So you're being introduced to how I operate. And I'm really proud of it because, I built it myself. I didn't have a team build it. And when you're building something that's AI related, you do need to have safeguards in place. You do need to have that. And ChatGPT, for all its faults, because it does have some faults, it does not quite give accurate information. And it tells you, it has a disclaimer at the bottom of every single one that, like this might not be necessarily correct. Because what it's doing, scrapping through the entire internet. And if there's crap on the internet, it's feeding you back the crap. In my particular case, I tried to contain it, that it only has mine, only my stuff. And I've encouraged it with instructions to only reference me, not to reference others, because I can't substantiate others' thoughts. I can substantiate my own thoughts because they're what worked for me personally, because I went through it, and those of my clients, and all of the things that I've subsequently learned throughout this process. Again, 2017, it's coming across, 8 years already that I have been doing this type of work to be able to help people. And that's the ultimate goal. And that's what my team, my army of support that I have, when I brought this to them, and I'm like, I've been screaming on my soapbox about how dangerous AI is to mental health. And now here I am on the cusp of building something to help. And what was told to me, and ChatGPT confirmed this, because they wouldn't allow me to build something. If you build it, you have to submit it to ChatGPT, and it goes through their process. You cannot provide mental health. Nope. Because unfortunately, they have learned, based on what you hear in the news about people hurting themselves because ChatGPT has suggested, well, maybe you need to go this route. And it becomes very dangerous. So now ChatGPT overall has safeguards in place about mental health. So my AI representation of Vanessa is providing my guidance, not mental health. Absolutely not. Not mental health advice, not legal advice, not financial advice. No. You don't get that from a machine. You get that from one-on-one conversations like we're having. Could you imagine if, and I'm sure it's going to happen, that they're going to start to be podcasts where there's, two hosts, or a host and a guest, and neither one is human. And it's like, whoa, wait a second. We don't want to lose our humanity. We don't.
No.
So this particular AI agent that I have created for the benefit of everyone, it's out there, it's completely free to be able to use, is an entry point in how I operate. And I'm proud of it. And those beta testers that I had, that I shared it with, were really impressed with it, which warmed my heart, because they felt like they were having a conversation with me, which is great, because I am just one person. I know that there's lots of others that are out there that do these massive workshops and these massive things where it's group settings of, 300 people to one person. I don't operate that way. I don't. I want you to come into my office or come onto my screen, and it's just you and me. That's it. It's just you and me, human to human, because that's what you need. Ultimately, that's what you need. These tools, these AI tools, they're good for the moment. They're almost like a Band-Aid, but that scar is never going to heal properly if you keep just slapping a Band-Aid on it and you don't let it breathe, and you don't have somebody look at it and help you move through it so that the scar can start to fade. And eventually it's a slight reminder of a moment in your life, because that's all these catastrophes are. They're moments in your life. In the thick of it, it feels like it's going to go on forever. But in the true reality of it, it's a moment in time. Yeah. It is. Whether that moment lasts a day, a week, a couple of weeks, a month, years, decades.
Yeah. Yeah. Where can people find that AI tool of yours?
It's on my website, which is understandingear.com.
Okay.
Understandingear.com. I'll send it to you so that you have it in the show notes as well, so they can get directly to it, and use it and utilize it and see. I'm curious the feedback on it. Absolutely, of course. I want it to be a tool of use.
Yeah.
I want it to be a way for people to get information that has been curated, not just scrapped from the internet, because again, the internet can have a lot of things on there that aren't necessarily true. And you know that in your hearts of hearts. You do. There's certain things you read and you're like, yeah, no, I'm not buying that. So this allows just for my work to be a resource for people, and to allow them the opportunity to have an entry point, whether it's 3 in the morning and you can't sleep because your partner next to you is snoring and he or she has betrayed you and you're seething at the moment because you've been triggered before you went to bed and you're just tossing and turning and you need a tool right at the moment. So
Mhm.
you reach for my AI model, ask Vanessa, and you type in your question, and it, as me, will give you a response. Something simple that you can do right in the moment to be able to alleviate that angst that you have. Not a permanent solution, but something to help you move through it at that exact moment so that you can get the rest that you need. 'Cause when we're tired, we can't make any decisions.
Man, you're totally right on that. Whenever I'm tired, it's not easy to really make any decisions. And I know I should make big ones if I'm tired, but it's awesome that you've created something like that so that other people can get help like that from someone that has reputable experience with everything as such as betrayal recovery and that kind of life advice and not necessarily mental health wellness, if you will. But that's the thing is that we're kind of sitting here and we got a lot of red flags, green flags all over the place that people may not be aware of whenever they need to kind of ask this kind of thing. So I've got a little bit of a game show segment if you want to play real quick to help the audience figure
Go
out
for it.
some red flags and green flags before they run to the AI.
Sounds perfect.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
All right. So I'm going to read off a short statement, and I just want you to confidently answer with a green light if it's a healthy, constructive behavior, or a red flag. You say stop unhealthy, destructive behavior. That makes sense. So,
Yes, let's try the first question and make sure I got the instructions correct. But yes, sounds
all right.
good.
Up first, we have after a fight, you should give your partner the silent treatment until they apologize.
Absolutely not. Red flag.
Red flag. Okay. And then the goal of self care is to do something that makes you feel good every day.
Green.
Green light. All right. Now, the best way to rebuild trust is to constantly check your partner's phones and emails.
Oh, red flag. Complete red flag.
All right.
You're torturing yourself when you do that. Yeah.
Man. And what about it's okay to acknowledge that your recovery journey will have will have ups and downs.
Green. Wholehearted green.
Alrighty. And then what about love is enough to fix any fundamental issue in a relationship?
Yeah, it's a red flag.
Red flag. Ooh. Do you want to expand on that one real quick?
Yeah, it's not just love. Love is very important. It's definitely monumental and right at the top, but there's a few others. One is trust.
Ooh.
Absolutely. You have to have trust in a relationship. If you don't have trust, no matter how much you love the other person, if you don't trust them, that will always be in the background. It absolutely will be. Respect is another. Integrity is another. So yeah, they kind of all go hand in hand. It's kind of like your own hand. You need all your fingers, including your thumb. Your thumb, most important digit, there it is love. But you can't do anything if your hand's just like this. Very little. You kind of need the four other fingers to be able to grasp, to be able to hold on.
Ooh, I love that. Thank you for explaining that one. And what about you are responsible for your partner's happiness?
No, red flag. No, you're responsible for your own happiness. Your partner is a byproduct of that. And if they're included in that, that's great. But if you lose yourself in having them be happy or they're the center of your own happiness, yeah, no, that's not going to work.
Ooh. All right. And then what about when trying to reconnect? Focus on complimenting your partner's efforts more than criticizing their failure.
Oh yeah, that's a green. It's green. I'm gonna a little bit of clarification on that.
Okay.
It's their confidence and it's your confidence. And when we can caretake each other's confidence and focus on the good, address the bad. And one technique, if I could share it with your audience, because I just recently did this with a couple yesterday, actually.
Okay.
I shared this with them and they both looked at me and were like, yeah, I kind of like that. We could do that. That we can do is every single week, one question. They sit down, they have one question. What have I done this week that has irritated you? And it's not a laundry list. No, not a laundry list. It's the one thing. Tell me what I've done this week that has irritated you. Because sometimes, and most of the time, it's something so minor. It's so minor. Oh, you left the cap of the toothpaste off.
Mhm.
And I found that it got under my skin.
Mm.
Okay, so something so easy. I put the cap back on the toothpaste, and you walk into the bathroom and you see it, and you're like, oh, you put the cap on the toothpaste. And it warms your heart because it's not about the toothpaste.
Mhm.
It's about listening,
Mm.
listening to your partner and wanting to do things to alleviate their angst for the day. And again, it's all these minor little things. When people argue about who took out the garbage, it's not about the garbage. It's not. It's about the trust. I trusted you. You said you would take out the garbage. You didn't take out the garbage. And now I can't trust you to do the thing that I asked or that we agreed upon that you would do. And again, it's all these little itty bitty things. But what happens is they start to stack. And it's like a bad game of Jenga. Eventually, you're going to pull out something and it's all going to collapse.
Yep.
Because we've been holding on to these little things that irritate us. And a lot of times we don't, why even bother? Why even bother saying, you left the dish in the sink or whatnot? You don't care. You don't care that you left the dish in the sink. And it's so minor. And a lot of times, and we do this exercise in my office, they'll come in and I'm like, okay, so we're going to do the same exercise. What happened this week? And each party will say something and they'll both look at each other like, really? That's what irritates? Oh, I can easily fix that. If that's going to solve what's going on here and we don't need to come to Vanessa's office, yeah, we could do that.
Mhm.
That's easy enough. Again, I'm not trying to make light of it, but sometimes it's these little things, these little micro things that just explode into something so much bigger. Because usually underneath them is fear, usually fear and fear of abandonment, and trust. Trust is a big one. We want to be able to trust our partner. We want to know that they have our back, that they're helping in certain fashions in what they're doing. So yes, caretaking each other's confidence is really important. And it's not these over-the-top compliments, but it's noticing these little things. And it's also accepting the compliment.
Mhm.
So many women, I hear it when they're out and about. Just their spouse or their mate will say, wow, you look great. This old thing?
Mhm.
Come on. No. Accept the compliment. Take the compliment. Your partner has noticed something about you and has formulated words and got the words up and out of their mouth. Acknowledge that.
Mhm.
Recognize that. They're seeing you. They might not have said the perfect thing, and that's okay. We are very jaded by Disney and by rom-coms about having the perfect line.
Mhm.
Listen, nothing. That's why movies take so long to get made, because even as they're directing it, even as they're on the set, they're constantly changing the words to determine which words land the best. So they're going through lots of incarnations of those words. So that beautiful line you heard in a rom-com or a Disney that just warmed your heart. Oh, he said that thing. Oh, she said that thing. That took a long time to formulate and get perfect. In the moment with your partner, they're not going to say it like that. They're not. But the heartfelt behind it, take that. Take that. They said it. They said it out loud to you. Accept that compliment.
Mhm.
Take it graciously. And that helps caretake each other's confidence. It's glorious.
Yeah. Being a caretaker to each other's confidence. I love that. And that is how someone can try to start rebuilding their relationships. Or hopefully that stops it from even getting to that point. But with that being said, I would like to bestow upon you the title of the Architect of Connection, because you help people redesign and rebuild their relationships after the unthinkable has happened. So Vanessa, thank you for playing green light or red flag with us today. So Vanessa, the name of this podcast is Retrieving Sanity, and we explore how all facets of living life impact mental health. Looking at the incredible motley adventures of your life, what does retrieving sanity personally mean to you today, and what's one practice or perspective you believe is crucial for anyone on that journey?
Beautiful question. Retrieving my sanity was the opportunity to be able to look in a mirror, to see my reflection. Because when I went through the betrayal and I heard that my husband met someone else, in my mind, in the 3-second movie, she was, a swimsuit model, gracing all the covers of Sports Illustrated, just the most perfect woman that there was. And I really struggled with myself, how I looked in the mirror, my body type, my hands, my age, my wrinkles, my hair, everything. I tore myself apart day after day. I fell so hard and so deep into the cesspool of self. I couldn't bear to even look at my reflection. I couldn't see it. And that was my sanity point, was when I was able to move through the betrayal and get the necessary help that I needed to move through it, to understand the why, and to come together to work through it, to the point where somebody whips out a camera, I'm all in the picture. I'm like, here I am. Absolutely. I love my reflection. I love the opportunity to be able to get on podcasts and get on stage and be able to share my message and see my reflection. It might not be perfect. Yes, I, like you, go back, last year, the year before, and so forth and so on, and look at things and I'm like, but at that time, I was happy. I was happy in my own skin. And for me, was retrieving my sanity was to be comfortable in my own skin, to be able to stand in my own purpose, to have a sense of who I am. My identity is not wrapped up in I am so-and-so's wife, I am so-and-so's mother, I am the C-suite executive here, I am this. Even relationship reset expert, even that title, all these titles and all these labels that put on me. No, I'm Vanessa. And I love who I am. And that took me almost 50 years to get to that point where I could be me. I could be myself. I didn't have to dress a certain way. I didn't have to have my hair a certain way. I did not have to subject myself to other people's judgment or other people's expectations of how I should be. No, I'm me. I stand here today, incredibly proud of how far I have come and how many people I have helped. That warms my stitched elastic heart, and that helped me retrieve my sanity. What I advise others how to start retrieving their sanity: take a selfie, take a selfie, take a selfie, take another selfie, take a selfie the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Look at yourself. Find one quality on you. Everybody's got it. And as I said, everybody is beautiful, as unique as their own fingerprint. Find something that you absolutely love, whether it's your nose, your eyes, your eyebrows, your ears, your cheekbones, the structure of your face, the hair color, the hairstyle, whatever it is, and zero in on that. Love your eyes. Love your eyes. Love the eye color of your eyes. I love how they pop when you think of something, whatever it is, and zero in on that and focus on that, because that will allow it to spread out. And that's what I had to do. I have green eyes. Green eyes are the rarest, they say, and I focused on my eyes. I'm like, I have beautiful green eyes, beautiful green eyes. And it's not about being conceited in any way. It's finding something about yourself that you love about yourself and allowing it to expand so that eventually, and again, it might take some time, eventually you become comfortable in your own skin. And that is the most attractive quality of all: confidence, to be able to stand on a stage and deliver your message. Yes, initially you might be a little nervous. I don't want to say nervous. I want to say excited. I'm excited for the opportunity. Nervousness and excitement, they feel the same way. The only difference is you know the outcome. And nervousness, you don't know the outcome. Will they not like me? The judgment comes into play. Whereas with excitement, you know the outcome. you're going to nail it. You're going to nail it. They're going to walk away with something so powerful that they're going to come back. They're going to come back. They're going to remember, I listened to Keegan's podcast and Vanessa said something that just in that moment clicked for me. And that was the trajectory of how my life changed. Because sometimes that's all it is something that someone says, even slightly different than what somebody else said. But because it landed on you at that exact moment, you heard it, you internalized it, and you moved it forward. That is the most beautiful thing. And you're on your way. You are. What are the places that you'll go? Only you decide that. You get to crack open that book that's halfway through or a quarter of the way through. It's got a lot of shit written before of all the trials and tribulations and the crap that you have endured. But the rest of the pages, they're all blank. You get to write it. Are you going to write the same shit? Or are you going to, hey, this is my dream. This is what's going to happen. And then start living towards that dream.
That's deep. And thank you for sharing that, because it is just another wonderful way that we can retrieve our sanity. But I think getting comfortable in our own skin is one of those big things that not a lot of us really think about from time to time. And I think that's where a lot of us kind of fall short. I know I myself was in that boat, and I'm still getting used to getting in my own skin, and it's kind of weird still. Well, I'm super excited to have spoken with you a second time, and I'm super excited to speak with you a third time. And quick, for that, everyone can find you at understandingear.com, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Well, Vanessa, thank you for that, because I know that it's going to help shape a lot of people's future, and it's going to help just give people a different perspective and maybe give them something to give them an idea of how to shape their own lens for life. So, with that being said, everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. Don't forget that if you are having a mental health crisis, go ahead and dial 988. It is a toll-free number. And if you are in the LGBTQ plus community and you need help, you can dial the Trevor Project up in Canada. And don't forget that you need to love yourself. Try to love others if you can, but you gotta love yourself first. And to do that, just go ahead and try to breathe, relax, and let go of some BS, because we don't need it all the time in our lives. But we will see you in the next episode, and until then, much love. Stan!